It was a personal rematch for guard Quadir Copeland facing off against the Syracuse Orange, but Will Wade and the entire NC State Wolfpack took it personal. A 20-piece over those Syracuse Orange.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network, your team every day. Our post-game Tuesday/Wednesday episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. As always, terms apply. What's up, Wolfpack Nation? Welcome to your Tuesday evening post-game live. As always, I am Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. 88-68 over the Syracuse Orange. And the storyline coming into this game was that personal rematch for Quadir Copeland. In fact, he was interviewed by a Syracuse publication about what this game meant to him, and he said he was taking it personal. And whatever happened up there in Syracuse, New York, for him to end up leaving, he was ready for a game like tonight to prove his skills and how they've adapted these last couple years. But something I picked up that Will Wade said before this game tipped off is he didn't want this to become Quadir versus Syracuse because it was NC State versus Syracuse. And that's what you got. You got a team basketball win tonight. And, you know, we've talked about the struggles at home. I think the entire team took it personal and not just Quadir. Excellent win tonight. You handled your business.
Yeah, and it's an excellent win tonight for a lot of reasons, right? One thing that you and I talked about was the defensive effort and focus, and also the effort and focus to finish possessions by grabbing rebounds. Yep. And in this game, we out-rebound Syracuse by 12 rebounds. That's what you want to see. That is the effort and focus that we talk about, right? That's what we look for in terms of who does this team want to be? How do they want to be? You look at the little stuff. You look at the small details of not only am I locating my man, am I putting some body on him? You know, not just, I'm kind of extending my arms out hoping that this guy isn't running in with some intention. No. I want to put body on big fella, box him out, go up and snatch me one. And that's what happened a ton this game. You started off in a way where I wouldn't even say this was the typical NC State slow start, because it wasn't quite what we've seen in the past, right? Like, we came out of the gates hot enough, but there were some times during the first half where we sputtered a little bit. But I'm going to tell you, when it came to getting it done and when it came to putting this team away, that killer instinct that you and I had kept asking for, that killer instinct that you and I kept talking about in terms of, all right, when you've got teams on the rope, end it. That's what came out in the second half here. This, like you said, this was a team that was on a mission, and it showed from the opening tip.
Yeah, and if you listen like real carefully, just everyone be quiet for 1 second and listen. Crickets. Oh, yeah, that's the haters for Darrion Williams. Darrion Williams looked like Darrion Williams again tonight. And as loud as the disrespect has been, the appreciation and the flowers need to be the same volume. He played his behind off tonight. 23 points, 9 of 16 shooting, 5 of 9 from beyond the arc. 6 rebounds, 5 assists, filled up the stat sheet. And he was a leader tonight. And that started from the opening tip. We won the opening tip. It fell immediately into his hands, and he goes for the easiest 2 points to start a basketball game maybe I've ever seen. And that set the tone for him, because right after that, he buries his first 2 three-point shots as well. You talk about, a confidence standpoint. He had 8 points basically right out of the gate, and then there on it went. We talked about so many times on this podcast this last month and a half, we know what kind of player he can be. And there's some nights where it clicks, and there's been other nights where it quite hasn't. But when he shows you what he's capable of, especially in a game like this one, it can change the entire complexity of this team. So I'm proud of the way that Darrion played tonight. He's well-deserved a performance like this one. I know he probably feels a little bit of a sigh of relief for playing so well tonight, but I thought he was a leader in every sense of the imagination.
And when you talk about what this team is now doing, it is what I hope we're now looking at from Darrion Williams in terms of kind of you broke that seal, quote unquote, in terms of getting you a big game. Now, can we break the seal in terms of Darrion Williams and getting his performances up to the expectation of what we have for Darrion Williams, right? This was a fantastic game from him. This is what we expect to see from him. And listen, the reality is, I've always said, we didn't bring you here to beat Syracuse on a Tuesday. We didn't bring you here to win certain types of games, but this feeds in to beating Virginia when you need to. This feeds in to being ready in the tournament. Let's be honest. Are we going to rely on the Kevin Keats magic every year? Oh, it doesn't matter what we do during the regular season. We'll just show up in the postseason. All of a sudden, we'll catch fire. That is a bad strategy. In the words of one Frank Williams Wade, at that point, you're relying on hope. And hope is a bad strategy. Instead, you should rely on that which you have done. Instead, you should rely on, we have the confidence for Darrion to put up 20 plus in these games because he's put up 20 plus every time before this. We have the confidence for Darrion to put up 20 plus and be dominant and be a stat sheet stuffer in those big moments because we've seen him have these moments in the past. So yes, we bought him here for postseason success. We bought him here for big games against big teams, but this game leads into that. And like Grayson said, we have been very vocal in our critiques of Darrion Williams. So we will also celebrate when he showed up in a meaningful way like tonight. And everything that he did was money, offensively, defensively, distributing, all of it was money.
There was just a visible energy that was different about him tonight. And I'll tell you who else had a different energy, Quadir Copeland. And obviously, yes, he was playing against his former team. Yes, his old man was in the building. The camera kept panning to him, and he was just as fired up as Q was. But you could tell there was a little extra focus from him tonight, and he had another spectacular game. He finished with 19 points, just missed a double-double. In fact, I thought there was a questionable assist that could have been credited, but it wasn't. He finished with just 9 there, but he was phenomenal yet again. And his court vision is second to none out there. He makes the offense flow in other ways that it just simply cannot when he's not on the court. And the ball movement, even not just from Quadir, but on the whole tonight, I thought it was spectacular. In fact, we finished with 21 assists. If my math is correct, I think that's the second highest total we've had on the entire season. That matches the game in Florida State where we put up, what was it, like 108, 114, something like that. We had 88 points tonight and 21 assists. That is spectacular. That is sharing the ball. That's making the extra pass, seeing the floor on the whole, and not just settling for an ill-advised shot. I thought the offense tonight was so impressively good. And the first half, in all reality, it was really only close because of the inability to close out possessions and grab that defensive rebound. But once you fix that in the second half, it was over. And that's exactly what I tweeted at halftime. I'm like, this game's really only close because Syracuse is getting so many second chance points. If you tighten that up, we're going to blow them out. And that is exactly what you watched to play out in that second half. So 20-point win. The stars obviously were Darrion and Quadir. I thought Van Al Lubin had another excellent game as well. He's just that constant force. You know what you're getting from him. He was perfect from the floor tonight, 8 of 8. There's another player I want to touch on after the ad break, but just an impressive win, a win that we needed to see at home as well. Sometimes, the old adage is you just got to see the ball go through the hoop, pun intended. But what I mean by that is to play with such confidence in front of the home crowd and know that, yeah, it probably should just be like this every single time we're at home. It can be. And it's kind of, not to bring up a sore subject, but like, how do you lose to Georgia Tech when you're capable of playing like you did tonight against Syracuse? It can be that dominant every time. So it is what it is. Great win tonight. I loved pretty much every aspect of this game. Even the deficiencies in the first half were very quickly tightened up and fixed in the second. 20-point win. It was great.
The one thing that I do want to talk about here that you touched on, the playmaking, the passing, the finding open guys and all that. We had 21 assists. Guess how many total field goals we had on the night?
I think it was 33.
2/3 of our makes, there was an assist. So for every 3 baskets we get, it's somebody dumping it off to somebody else, making it happen. Somebody finding the open shooter, making it happen. This is the type of stuff that when you play like this, you can beat anybody. We know what team can do from deep, right? We know what this team can do when you have Darrion Williams rolling. We know what this team can do when Quadir Copeland is being efficient. We know those things, but it's finding a multitude of ways. Get it done in this way. Get it done in that way. Find it here. Find it there. The way that we attack the basket and pass the ball tonight, it shows another layer and another facet to this team. Because we talked about how this team is such a good three-point shooting team that you just hope they don't fall so in love with the deep ball that it's like, oh, that, because most of the time when the offense stagnates, that's what we see. We see an offense that falls in love with that perimeter shot. When we find different ways to win ball games, that's what instills that confidence. That's what builds in that confidence that we can get it done in all these different ways. And, of course, you're playing at home against a team that right now with Autry and company, I think they're a little bit lost. They're kind of wandering through the wilderness. He might be a lame duck coach, but it doesn't matter. This is the new ACC. This is the new ACC, which is a lot like the old ACC. This is a Syracuse team that beat a very good Tennessee team. So you cannot sleep on them and say, oh, yeah, well, this is nothing because, you know, this Syracuse team ain't great. Yeah, well, they got some really good wins in there. They got some really good wins there. Yeah, they got some bad losses too, but they got some really good wins, and you beat them by 20. It ain't like you escaped away because of a missed free throw or two. You beat them by 20. So ultimately, you take your hats off, you tip your cap, and you say, what a ball game.
And this, of course, was a great win for NC State, not because of who you played, but because of this comment here on the bottom of the screen from Reed Whittington. I saw Jack Simpson also made note of this. This is the best start in conference play, which is 6-2, that we've had in the last 20 years. And Kenton and I were watching the Virginia and Notre Dame game. If Notre Dame wins that game, NC State will have sole possession of third place this evening. So something to keep an eye on here in the next 5-10 minutes. Go Irish. I hope they finish the deal. But just a great domination in that second half specifically. Probably one of the best halves of basketball we played all season. 88-68 coming up next after a quick word from our sponsors. Going to get into the weeds of this game and how it did go so right for the NC State Wolfpack. More on this after a quick word from our sponsors.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kalia Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. The WNBA has released its 2026 schedule featuring a 44-game regular season beginning on Friday, May 8th. The league's historic 30th season includes expansion teams Portland Fire and the Toronto Tempo, with opening weekend highlights such as Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever hosting Paige Beckers and the Dallas Wings, and a rematch of the 2025 finals between the Aces and the Mercury. In Unrivaled, Miami felt the breeze as Paige Beckers powered the breeze to a 75-68 win over the Lunar Owls, finishing with 28 points and 7 assists. She was joined by 20-year-old Dominique Malunga, who added 21 points, 8 rebounds, and became just the second player to ever dunk in an unrivaled game. In college hoops, South Carolina handed Vanderbilt its first loss of the season with a dominant 103-74 win. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts the same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment. Putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
All right, middle portion of our post-game live here, also our Wednesday show. It looks like UVA is going to escape with the win, so that stings. But nonetheless, it's going to be onward for NC State. 88-68 over the Syracuse Orange. Darrion Williams led the way with 23 points, 6 boards, 5 assists. Quadir had 19, 2 boards, and 9 assists. I really wished he could have finished off that double-double with 10 there. Venal Lubin had 18 points, a perfect 8 of 8 from the floor, had 9 defensive boards just by himself. He was a dominant force down there. Let's see here. Musa Sanye, that's who I was saving here. The game of the season for Big Moose. 10 points. I believe that is his season high. He was 5 of 6 from the floor, 4 rebounds. In fact, all 4 of those were massive rebounds. Played his tail off tonight. I could not have been more impressed with the continued development that we're seeing from Moussa Sanye. And I know a lot of people are calling for more minutes to get him out there consistently. If you can get some production like you saw tonight, I think it's without a question you're going to see more from down the stretch. But, it goes to show that, yeah, you're getting a lot from Van Allen Lubin, but when you have another big that you can keep down there and trust that he's going to make the right play and be decisive. I think he looked the most decisive he has in any game this season, especially attacking the rim. Loved the performance tonight from Moussa Sanye.
Will Wade must have called him out. Will Wade must have said something there. There had to be something going on there. And you know what? Let me not disrespect Big Moose here. He played a heck of a game regardless of what it was. So whatever it is, Moose, don't you change that pregame meal. Don't you change the pair of socks you wear for the next game. Don't you change the drawers you wear for the next game. You still wash them now. Still wash them. But don't you change them, okay? Because this is the type of stuff that if we see this on the regular, right, we talk about how impactful NC State's bench is and all the things that you're looking for out of that group if you're going to do what you want to accomplish this year. Well, what you look at is, hey, the bench has to give us something. And the majority of our losses this year, the bench gave us precious little. 16 in this game. That'll play. If we could schedule in our bench for 16 every single game, cinema. Absolute cinema, ladies and gentlemen. I'd love to see that. So ultimately, I'd say, shout out to Moose for the night that he had. You're right. He was decisive, but you know what else he seemed to be? He seemed to have a fortitude around the rim that was not present in the past, right? It just was not there. A determination to finish, a determination to say, you know what? I'm going up at this thing and it's going in. Point blank period, that we had not seen in earlier games.
I see this comment from Shanerman on the screen. Apparently, Darrion Williams said he had a phone call with a family friend who told him he'd been playing soft this season. Well, I'd say he responded pretty well if that is, in fact, the case. He did have 23 tonight. Whoever that was that gave him that phone call, maybe just check in with him weekly. It's good to check up on your friends, but no, that is a funny story nonetheless. Terrence Arsenault, again, I think the stat sheet's not going to tell the full story, even though he did have 7 rebounds off the bench tonight. I think tonight was Terrence Arsenault's best game. The defense that he played was clamps. It was straight up lockdown. You will not score on me. You might not even get past me or complete a pass around me. I was very impressed with the energy from TA tonight, and he's just going to keep getting more minutes, and I cannot wait to see what, kind of a more finalized product of his skill set will look like as the season continues to wage on, because he's getting better and better and better. He's producing more and more in different ways, not just scoring, not just rebounding, but putting it all together. He made a massive impact tonight, I thought.
Yeah, it can't be understated what TA does for this team when he's defending at this level. You and I have talked about, some of the deficiencies of this team ad nauseum, and one of them was we don't have great perimeter defenders in our starting lineup, right? I give Quadir Copeland his credit. He's a good perimeter defender. He's pretty good, has a tendency to get a little reachy, and we know if you wear the red and white of NC State, the refs are going to have a tight whistle for you. That's just part of the deal, brother. So with that being said, we need a guy who can defend like Terrence Arsenault, to where he's just shuffling the puppies. He's just in front of you. Everywhere you go, everywhere you look, you just look up again. And I'm going to tell you, some of these guards from Syracuse are going to be having nightmares about Terrence Arsenault, just tracking them down, running them down. They don't even want to hear TA even in their classrooms. They don't want to hear about the teaching assistants anymore because of how Terrence Arsenault was all over. But when you look at what he brings, this is what I mean in terms of when the bench performs, when the bench shows up, when our depth pieces depth. It is a different experience in terms of what this team can be and what they are when those guys are coming along as well. When you've got a Matt Abel doing a little bit of everything, when you've got Terrence Arsenault bringing that energy, that heart, that hustle, when you've got Big Moose. And honestly, I'm not expecting this out of Big Moose every game. Nobody is. This will probably be his season high. Hopefully I'm wrong, but this will probably be his season high. But guess what? When you get that amount of decisiveness, that amount of, hey, this means something to me. Going up, making sure that you don't get this board means something to me. This is a dangerous team.
A couple more team stats that really popped off the page to me. Points off of turnover. Actually, we only had 10 tonight. Felt like we had a whole lot more. Syracuse made good advantage. They had 13. The second chance points, which I referenced at halftime, going into the half, Syracuse had 13 to finish the game, just 18. So you talk about tightening up and being more aggressive in rebounding. I think we were also tied in rebounds at the half, and we won by 12. That is making an adjustment, choosing that you will be the tougher team. You'll fight for every loose ball, and then going out and just flat out executing. So I think there was an excellent energy adjustment there in that second half, and it pays off. It goes to show you if, like, a lot of times, and this is not even just regulated to basketball, this is just like life. If you want something more than the other person, there's a high likelihood that you're going to get it. And again, not to get philosophical, but like that's the effort thing that we've been talking about with this team kind of night in and night out. Sometimes it's there, and sometimes it's like, well, what are we doing? How are we down to Georgia Tech right now? What in the world are we watching? It's just if you can maintain that level of consistency. I know I go blue in the face saying the word consistency, but that's why we talk about it so much. It gets vitally important night in and night out. Last one here. Where did this go? Bench points. It was 16-12 in favor of NC State. Where's the one? There it is. Points in the paint. 50-38. 50 points in the paint for NC State tonight. Again, Sagne was excellent. Van Allen Lubin was excellent. Darrion Williams from short range actually tonight was excellent. He didn't do all of his damage from downtown, but it was able to make some shake there in the paint. Quadir was excellent in the paint. Just an all-around, it was a good night. The last stat I'll hit you with. Time with the lead. NC State, 39 minutes and 56 seconds. You know what the 4 seconds were? Before we scored after winning the opening tip. That is a whistle to buzzer domination over Syracuse. Just an all-around great win tonight.
Oh, for sure. For sure. A wire-to-wire domination. This is the type of stuff that you want to see. And this is what we've talked about in terms of if you are the better team, be the better team. If you are the better team, just be the better team. And that's what happened tonight. Like I said, this team is rolling. They've seemingly broken the seal on getting a big win. Now let's keep it going. We got some momentum. What did Grayson say coming in? You've got an opportunity for 5 or 6 straight.
Yep.
We're on the way. We're on the way. Just keep coming. Just keep coming. Just keep going. Keep going in the direction that you're going because we're right there. We're right there on the precipice. And I'm going to tell you what, you're going to have an opportunity against Wake Forest to maintain and to show this is who we are. It's not a fluke. You're going to have the opportunity to maintain your identity as we're starting to be consistently good at the little things. We're starting to be a team that's cleaned up a lot of our problems in terms of what we allowed early in the season, in terms of all these guys having their career highs against us and everybody shooting these ridiculous percentages from deep against us. Neither one of those things happened tonight. Neither one of those things have happened for the past few nights. So you're starting to see a team that is moving in the right direction, that is cleaning up some of those things where it's like, this is becoming who you are. We love to see that. And now keep going, keep evolving, keep figuring out and keep tinkering. And Will Wade, keep being the mad scientist that you are to kind of poke and prod and pull and get the best out of your players. Because I'm going to tell you, what we saw tonight was a flat-out domination, especially in the second half. But what we saw tonight out of some of these individuals, Darrion Williams returning to form, Big Moose showing us things that we didn't know he had, Terrence Arsenault being like the prime version of himself where it's like, hey, if he's playing like this, watch out. Watch out. That's and, of course, Quadir Copeland. He's your junkyard dog, but you keep him locked in. He's your junkyard dog. But even in this game where you knew, oh, it's going to be personal, one of his lowest personal foul counts of the year with just 2. That's what I mean by keep being the alchemist. Keep mixing up your potions back there, Will Wade. We're here for you, brother.
That is now 3 wins in a row. Some of us may call that a win streak. 88-68 over Syracuse. The Pack is now 15-6 and 6-2 within ACC play. The best start in 20 years. Great win. Coming up next, let's talk some Slobbergate. There was more developments that occurred on Tuesday. Where will this end? It seems to be a bottomless pit. We got more to talk about after a quick word from our sponsors. All right. Our second post-game live sponsor is FanDuel. It's coming up to the last call for football on FanDuel. There's one final Sunday, one last kickoff, and it's the last chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel's making sure you're right in the middle of all the action with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game that everyone's been waiting for. This is where big predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. With the perfect way to cap off the season and making the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle only on FanDuel. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and you'll get $200 back in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. Make it count because after the Super Bowl, football is over for the year. Last call for football on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com in order to get started. All right, last couple minutes here of our post-game Tuesday show. This is also our Wednesday episode. Slobbergate. I saw the Slobber Army was out in full force. Everyone that I saw, at least behind the bench area, whenever they had the camera on the commentators, they were slobbered up. That's what I love to see. There's a real movement going on, and I know it's probably just social media, but everyone seems to be talking about it. We know about the slobber, whatever you want to call it, the Slobbergate that kind of began at the end of last week with the comments from Will Wade saying that basically the branding and marketing department would not allow him to put the Slobbering Wolf logo on a jacket. That kind of snowballed into the weekend, and of course, I voiced my complaints, and so did everyone else on social media. On Tuesday, there was an email that got out. I don't know if it was FOIA'd or flat out leaked, but it got out. And this was an email that was sent way back in November, right around the very beginning of the season. And this comes from the director of trademark licensing and brand protection. I'm not going to drop her name because I'm not trying to get in the weeds, especially on here. I'll do it my own time. But there was an email sent basically questioning why NC State wore the throwback uniforms in the season opener, because basically it had not been discussed, it had not been cleared, and they wanted to know why they did that without any clarification. There was a quote that was circulating around that basically the branding department really wanted to know the use of the marks for the brand confusion, because it seems that they went about wearing the throwback uniforms when there was no story or reasoning for using them. They just wanted to do so. There was a tweet sent out by Pack Chat. Shout out to Pack Chat, one of my favorite follows on Twitter. And he says, well, the story and reasoning, and then put pictures of Everett Case, of Norm Sloan, of Jim Valvano. That's your story and reasoning. NC State wants to honor our history. Why NC State's branding and our own marketing department is handcuffing that is flat out ridiculous. I saw another story from NC State Sailing. Shout out to the sailing team. They had made their own custom, like throwback NC State jerseys, and then they went on to win, I believe, a championship it was. And they got another scathing email saying that the merchandise that they had made on their own time cut into the merchandise profits that the school gets because they don't sell state word marks. What are we doing? How is this getting worse? I'm not really surprised, but how is this getting worse? Kenton, why does the school hate fun things that the fan base wants to do?
You know, this is why we are having the slobber up or the slobber knocker, as we are. We're still working out the names of it, but that's why this
February 7th.
That's why this is on the way, because this is getting ridiculous, man. This is getting to a point. And here's the thing, right? Some people say, well, everybody has a job and da-da-da-da. Will Wade is the American gangster. He's going to do what he wants.
That's right.
He's going to do what he wants. And guess what? We're going to shut the hell up and be excited about it because it's Will Wade, okay? There is another school that thought that they could replace their really good coach overnight and ended up with a recruiting class that was the worst of all the FBS programs in their state. I've already talked about them. Don't need to say that school's name anymore. But we've got to knock this off. I get it. It's, we have to keep a consistent brand. We have to do all these things for merchandising. You know what's really good for merchandising? Winning. Winning is spectacular for merchandising. You know what gets you in Walmart to get those fans that have never really paid attention to now look at your stuff? Winning. There's an opportunity here. There's an opportunity because I have a very strong feeling that people who saw a hat in the gas station or Walmart and were like, oh, I'm a fan of this team now, that team may be replacing their guy pretty soon. So you know what we'll have the opportunity to do? Grow a market share amongst very relatable people. Because let's be honest, of the 3 power programs in the state, it's NC State, it's the Dirty Foot Club, it's Duke. Is Duke really a North Carolina brand? Is it really? Like, you get what I'm saying? You get me? Like, Cheerwine is a North Carolina brand, if you know what I'm saying. It's a truly, like, hey, it matters to people here. Cookout is a North Carolina brand. Is Duke a North Carolina brand in that way?
Well, you know what Duke fans say, don't you? It's a global brand, bro. It's Duke. It's the brotherhood.
So that's my point. That's my point exactly. They pride themselves in being a much more global thing and all that. More power to them. No disrespect. You know, hey, they're doing their thing. Great for them. You can win the we are a local brand. We are the local brand thing. The opportunity is coming up. The opportunity is coming up to do that and to be that. Let's not hinder it by not having every part of the program be on the same page. I don't want my head coach thinking about nothing but rotations, winning ball games. What's the coverage we want to run? What's the offense we run? I want him thinking about that. I don't want my head coach thinking about, do we have approval to wear this logo?
Yeah, exactly.
Is this logo approved? I don't want my head coach thinking about that. No, I don't want that. Okay, let's knock this off. And whatever we have to do branding-wise, it should be branding going to Will Wade saying, hey, what's the uniform scheduling? What are you feeling? Let's find ways to work around that so we can pitch the story and tell the story around that. Not, oh, man, you know, Will, you have to think about us and our fees and our whether or not we're going to have proper sales if you do that and whether or not – stop it. You sell the Slobber and Wolf in the bookstore. You sell the state in the bookstore. So why we're sitting up here pretending, oh, no, we only have the new one. We only have the new logo. That's the only one we go with. Stop it, man.
I'll tell you something else that'll happen if and when it happens. Well, I'll just say when it happens because it's going to. Once this once this corner finally does get turned and there's more Slobbering Wolf everywhere or there's more throwback apparel, guess what's going to fly off the shelves faster than any other single thing in a bookstore or an apparel store, you know, the red and white store, online store? It's going to be the stuff that we want right now. I promise you. Don't be surprised when that becomes the case. And I know that, there's been some unfair commentary about those in power. I will say this, don't go after them. They're just trying to do their jobs at the core. But I will say this, okay? This is probably unfair of me to say. I'm going to start and clarify that right away. This is probably unfair of me to say this. I have noticed that the people in charge of the branding department, none of them went to state. Now, that's not a requirement, to my point. They're just doing their job. But if you're going to handle the branding of our university, which goes out everywhere, not just limited to athletics, we're talking everywhere. Advertisements, online commercials, everything. If you're not making decisions with the fan base in mind, who are you making these decisions for?
Well,
who? I would like to know. Can that be answered? Because if the fan base is like, hey, we love our history, we want to be able to better represent the heyday of NC State basketball. We're tired, like I said, of going to Walmart and seeing everything in every other color shade of blue you can think of, but you can't find anything decent in red and white. Why can't that be us? Well, it can. It's going to take a change of mindset and a commitment to NC State becoming a better widespread brand, and we can all do that. We can all do that together, but it's going to have to take a rethinking over the way that all of this has gone down for years. This is not a recent problem. This is decades on the back burner that fans have had this anguish for. So I'm with you. I'm pissed off by this. I'm tired of, to Kenton's point, why is our head coach thinking, like, consider this, right? Say this out loud. Why is our head coach and our basketball team having to consider, man, if we wear those retro uniforms that honor our history and honor a championship basketball team, I bet we're going to get in a lot of trouble for doing that. Say that out loud. Does that make any sense to you? I'll answer it for you. No, it doesn't. It's stupid. Okay?
You're preaching on the Tuesday, Grayson. You're preaching on the Tuesday.
This.
Pass the collection plate around. Put your cash up here because the good people need to know where to give money for Reverend Boone today because you're preaching. It needs to get fixed. It needs to get fixed. And here's the thing. I don't care whether you're a state alum. I don't care whether you're an alum of the Dirty Foot Club. I don't care if you're an alum of Maryland. I don't care what university you're an alum of. The reality is sometimes you have to realize I need to get out the way. I need to, hey, I get it. My job is important, but maybe, just maybe I need to meet the moment by saying, hey, it's my job to also form around what you're doing, not just make you conform and bend to what we're doing. Because again, right now we're seeing an unprecedented time of success in NC State history. And I know people don't want to hear it, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
It's the truth. It hasn't been like this since the 70s. Bell bottoms were in last time State was this good at this many sports. That's an actual fact. The TV was just barely getting off the ground as an invention. They were still very heavy and expensive at that time. Like, we are in a world where you're looking at an NC State football team where 8 wins is about the norm. 7-8 wins, about the norm. We now have a basketball team that's off to our best start since the Bush administration. That's where we are right now. And right now, instead of saying, hey, let's go ahead and get out of the way and meet the moment and understand that we're ushering in a new wave of success. We're ushering in a new wave of NC State is reestablishing the pecking order of ACC basketball, of college basketball, of basketball in the Triangle, of basketball on Tobacco Road, of basketball in North Carolina. Instead, we're saying, well, are we going to hurt our sales if we put out the wrong logo? Lobo is also Wolfpack.
Lobo is actually correct.
Yeah, but is it going to hurt us? Stop it. Shout out to Susan Navy Davis. She's the reason I know so much Spanish. But, are we going to continue to kneecap ourselves? Knock it off, man. Knock it off. Get out of the way. Again, I'm not hating on anybody for trying to do their job, but we have more champions than ever. We have more success than ever. In the non-revenue sports and the revenue sports, we're being better than ever. So let's get out of the way and say, we will let the winners dictate the branding instead of the branding dictate to the winners.
Yes. And I'll tell you one last thing. It's not an Adidas thing because I've been to Kansas. I've been to Texas A&M. I've seen Arizona State gear, and they have, head, shoulders, knees, and toes better apparel than NC State has. It's not Adidas. This is an NC State conscious decision that's been going on for decades, and I'm tired of it. It needs to change, and I know that I'm not alone in saying that. Kenton, I think, made the best point in this whole discussion here. Meet the moment. Understand the pulse of the fan base that you work for, of the university that you work for, of the brand that you represent every single day you walk in that office. You have to understand the pulse, right? You got to understand the people that this represents and the history that this represents. That is what you are tasked with. And so I would like to see this change. And I think Will Wade being the head basketball coach and his mindset, that's a guy, to Kenton's point, he's going to do what he wants. Sooner or later, he's going to push the agenda that he wants. I would not at all be surprised if, a corner does get turned here. So y'all mind if the boys do a little Espanol on a Tuesday night? A great win for El Baloncesto para NC State, 88-68 over the Syracuse Orange. That will do it for us here tonight and for our Wednesday show. Thank you all for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button, drop your comments in the comment box, mash that subscribe button if you have not already. We'll catch you back here on Thursday for more. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.